guys? Thanks for joining me for Shlog number 14 and for my morning hike with the pup. And yeah, we're up here in Eagle Valley again. What a difference a day makes. It snowed overnight, so it's all white now if you take a look around. And yeah, that's good though, because snow equals time release traction, and that means it's going to be awesome when it melts. And hopefully it's right exactly the same time that my hip is ready to go ride, which is less than a month away, and I'm very excited about that. So yeah, I got to finish this hike up, but today I think we're going to finish up the KTM 525 XC. Got to check the valves, do a compression check, and button it all back up. And then we're going to do a bunch of diagnosis and kind of make lists for folks, because I got some big projects in that guys want to get their bikes ready for the season coming up. So stick with us. If that stuff's interesting to you, stay with us for this video. And yeah, the dog and I are going to finish walking, and we'll see you guys when we get to the shop. All right, we're at the shop now, and we are going to finish this KTM. But first, I got word from the lady who owns the CRF 250X from yesterday's Shlog, and she definitely does want an air filter. She's making a good decision. So I'm going to do that real fast, and I'm just going to show you real quick how we oil up an air filter here, what I think is the best way to do it. I've already talked about this in other things, but honestly, in my experience, I cannot possibly stress enough air filter maintenance. Man, I see so many blown up motors and so many problems because of poorly maintained air filters or just not maintained air filters. So I'm going to do a real quick class on that. So here we go. All right, first, gloves on. It's good for your body. It's also really good for the fact that air filter oil is super sticky, or at least it should be. Pick your favorite oil. I like Fab 1 from Maxima. There's lots of good stuff out there. I actually like the liquid stuff that you dunk the air filter in better than this for coverage-wise and for economy, because it's less money to do that way. But this is a lot easier and cleaner here at the shop, so I use this. The nice thing about putting a new air filter on is that we can just chuck this old thing. A new twin air filter. I like these a lot. I also like the funnel web air filters. Unis are good too. Let's not get into an argument about air filters. They're all pretty good. Shake the stuff. What you're doing there is, the reason it's got a ball in it is that there's alcohol and oil in here. And I don't know if it's just straight alcohol, but whatever. There's something to thin it and then dry up, so it's probably alcohol and oil in here. And you want to mix those up really good so you're not just getting the alcohol. And then you're going to freaking coat the heck out of it, because too much oil is better than not enough. And the reason air filter oil is colored, all of it is, I mean, maybe there's some out there that's not, but that's dumb. But the reason it's colored is that so you can see how good of a job you're doing. They make it so even people like me with tiny brains can use it. So I like to get a good coat around the outside, and I get the sealing surface, flip this sucker inside out, so we're getting all of the inside. All right, feel pretty good about that. Now, the part that kind of sucks when you're using this aerosol stuff is that this is really cold, but now is actually the really important part of this whole thing, is now you want to knead that oil into the foam and get it down in there. Now, install it onto the cage. Now we're going to get controversial, because there's a whole bunch of people that feel all sorts of ways about this, and I find it funny. But I'm old school. I like to put grease around this lip. Now, honestly, this foam is really good, and I've put a nice layer of oil on it, so it probably would seal absolutely fine just like it is. But you know what? I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy when it comes to my engine. I don't want to take any chances, so I take some grease, run a thin film, and yeah, that's a lot right now, but we'll go back around and get it off of there. Because, like I said, I would rather have a little bit of goop to clean up the next time I do this than a little bit of goop inside my motor. So there we go. You can see it's not overly greased. It's all good to go. Now I'll go install it. I'm not going to show you that because that's easy. Actually, on a CRF, installing air filters are not that easy, but I'm still not going to show you because it's kind of boring. Anyway, air filter maintenance 101. Please, 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 please clean and oil your air filter a lot. All right, we got the silly air filter done. Sorry to always harp on that, but that might end up being my YouTube, like, how do I say it? Signature is yelling at you all to maintain your air filters. And I'm sure that every one of you watching does it awesome and takes really good care. I hope that's the case. If it's not, shame on you. And if you have friends that don't, we'll show them all my videos and say, this dude is screaming at you. Anyway, so here we go. Now we're going to check the valves on this RFS motor. This is a 525 XC. Super duper clean, very well maintained. Air filter, by the way, perfect condition. So yeah, the thing about these is that I love these motors because, okay, I don't love these motors, but one of the things that I do like about this motor is the fact that it's got screw and lock nut style valve adjustment, so it's super easy. Don't need a bunch of special tools. Set of feeler gauges that will get you through. But the exhaust valves are a mother to get to. So if you look down in there, they're way in there. Anyway, so you gotta move the radiators out of the way, which I don't like. I don't like that, but I've been pretty lucky and be able to just loosen the radiators and just shove them kind of without draining all the coolant. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to check the valves. Probably won't have to adjust them because it feels good and the bike runs great. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to run a compression check, put a new spark plug in it, call the customer and tell him it is ready to rock and roll for him. It's snowing out there, so I don't know if he's going to ride it in the snow, but hopefully he gets out real soon. So let's get that done. I'm still in the middle of getting in there to these valve covers, but I'm going to take the spark plug out. We're going to replace it anyway, but also you want that spark plug out so that you can roll the motor over easier without compression, slowing you down as you're getting ready to check the valves. Quick little tech tip: if you have a compressor and you have an air gun, before you take the spark plug out, do this. And blow all the junk out of the way so that when you take the spark plug out, it doesn't fall into the motor. There's a little something for you. Alright, as with all spark plugs, when you take it out, I want to take a good look at how it's burning. That looks really good. Kind of a good chocolate brown, maybe a little tiny bit dark, but not dark enough for me to change anything. Plug's been in a while, it's a little bit rusty and stuff like that, so it's a good thing we're putting a new one in there. So now, I'll get these valve covers the rest of the way off. Alright, so here's something you gotta know about checking valves. Everybody always says you gotta put it at top dead center compression. Now, that is handy. That way you can check both the intake and the exhaust. It's the same part of the stroke, and these KTMs have a special bolt you pull out to lock it into that and all that stuff. That's all great, right? But you don't have to. What you really need to do is to make sure that the cam is rolling on the base circle of the cam on, in this case, a rocker, or if it's a direct overhead cam, make sure the base circle of the valve is just on the bucket or whatever. But you don't have to have it at top dead center compression. So you just got to make sure that you're on that base circle. So you can watch the valves go down, right? So these are the intake valves, and we're going to let them come back up and just go a little bit past it. Now, those are tight for sure. But it looks like, if you see the distance between this and the nut is not very far. It looks like it honestly doesn't look like they've ever been adjusted. So we'll grab a wrench, loosen those. And on these KTMs, I like to set both the intake and the exhaust right at 6 thousandths. So with a nice little feeler gauge, and come in here and back that off till you, that feels good. Take your screwdriver, put it through the wrench so you can hold it while you tighten it. And I get those pretty tight because I've seen these come off when people have adjusted valves and forgotten to tighten those, and really bad things happen to motors when that happens. So don't do that. Same process over here. There we go. Now, when you're done with that, you always want to come back in and check again after you've tightened it to make sure you didn't move them too much or something. That feels good. That feels good. So now we gotta do the exhaust, and they're a pain, but they work just the same. The exhausts work exactly the same. I'm not gonna try to jam this camera in there while I do it. Just know that it's the same idea. You just gotta like wiggle your hands anyway. It's a nightmare, but whatever. We're gonna get it done because that's what they're paying us to do. And I mean, honestly, if anything's gonna be tight, it's almost always the intakes. But you always want to check the exhaust too. I mean, rarely do they move very much, but like I said, if you're gonna do the job, do it right. Make it right. Like I said, you could probably gamble, put this thing back. I mean, it ran already, even with tight intake valves. I'm sure it will run regardless of what those exhaust valves are. But like I said, if you're going to bother with all of this trouble to do all this work, you might as well do it the right way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done right now. A different feeler gauge for this. Makes this a little easier. We got lucky. Well, I was pretty sure it was going to be good anyway. Exhaust valves are good. These little feeler gauges are really cool. I'll put a link in the description for these. I got to figure out who makes them. I think it's Motion Pro, but anyway, for the really tight, hard to get to places, these things are awesome. They just have like, there's a thousandth difference between each side, and they go from like 2 thousandths up to like 8 or 10. Anyway, they're really cool. So I'll put a link in the description for these. They're actually really nice. I didn't start using these until recently, but I like them a lot. So cool. We can put the covers back on. I'm not going to film that. You put the covers back on, tighten them down. Got it? So going to get that all done. Then I'm going to check the compression with the compression gauge, and we'll be good to see if this thing starts up. I'm sure it will. It did before. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn these camera off because, like I said, it's boring. We'll see you guys in just a bit. So I checked the compression. I forgot to, sorry, I didn't film it. It's not a big deal. Let me just show you what I used. Mainly because I love what it's called. The Super Deluxe Compression Testing Kit. Grab one of these guys, grab that guy, screw it in there, turn it over. It's got a button, so that's nice. But actually, here's the key to checking compression on anything. A little tip. Anyway, I don't know if it's a tip or just a rule, but anyway, you got to hold the throttle wide open while you're turning it over. So if it's Kickstarter only, hold it open, kick it, kick it, kick it. If it's a button, hold it wide open, kick it, kick it, kick it. If you leave it closed, you can't suck enough air, you'll get a really low reading. This one's got plenty, way over 120. Anyway, and that's with the auto decompression on the cam, so it's good. So, yeah, gonna put a spark plug in it. Quick little tech tip on spark plugs. When you're putting a spark plug in, I like to take a little bit of NICs. There we go. Just a little bit on the threads. You don't have to go crazy. That's going to get all over it. So put that on there, run it in. That'll make sure it doesn't seize in there. Hey, this is steel and the head's aluminum. You don't want the dissimilar metals to oxidize and corrode together. So there we go. We'll go slap that thing in there here real fast and tank back on it and make sure she starts up good. All right, we got the tank back on. Everything's all buttoned up, ready to check her out, see if she starts. Real quick tip for starting old four-strokes that have carburetors. It's sad to say. That's an old thing. But anyway, old four-strokes that have carburetors, when it's cold, and I don't mean like physically cold outside, although it is right now. I mean when it hasn't been run. If it's jetted well and tuned well, generally you're going to want to pull the choke and then usually twist the throttle 3 times, 4 times, something like that. And then you should be able to hit the button. Yeah, there we go. I like it. Choke off, it's running good. Happy about that. So, see how the throttle responses. Maybe a little lean on the bottom. So, what that... There we go. So what that twisting does is on an old carbureted 4-stroke, that's squirting raw gas from the accelerator pump into the motor to help put a little more fuel in there to get it started. It's kind of like an extra choke circuit. Seems like maybe it's a little lean on the bottom. It's probably because it's so cold. I don't know how cold it is in here today, but I don't even have the heat on. So it's probably 40, maybe 45. Anyway, I'm going to tune the fuel screw a little bit for him, make sure it's all good, but thing's pretty much done. We'll get on to the next project here. Yeah, we got our French press here at the shop because we're not barbarians. So the next thing I gotta do today is I gotta make a list of things that I would do to this guy's bike. So we got a guy, one of our good customers. He's got a 350 XCFW, excuse me, and it's got 212 hours on it, and he's kind of like trying to decide whether he's gonna buy a new bike or just freshen this one up. He really likes this motorcycle a lot. And he doesn't really want to spend a whole bunch of stinking money. And so I am trying to talk him into just freshening this thing up and making it ping super rad, because really there's not much you can do above, like, he doesn't really want an XC because he's not a racer guy. He just likes to go trail riding, and he doesn't want the suspension and all that. And I mean, he wouldn't mind a little more motor out of it, but he really doesn't need a whole bunch more motor out of it. So it's like, why don't we just make this thing like brand new and go ride it? Like, it's a myth that you have to buy a new bike all the time. So we're going to get this thing dialed in. It's a, let's see, what year is it? A 2013. It's clean. It's great. It fits him. He's got everything set up for him. So I'm just going to make a list of things that I would do. So let me just show you kind of what we use. We use a software called Lizzie. It's an online cloud-based deal. It works great for small shops. It's awesome. Lightspeed is just too much money for a tiny shop like us. And Lizzie is great. It ties in with Western Power Sports, Parts Unlimited, Tucker Rocky, all the OEM brands. You get all the parts, part numbers. It'll track your inventory. It'll track hours, build, all that good stuff. So, got a 350 XCFW here. We're going to add job, top end. We charge 6 hours for a 4-stroke top end. Just save it like that. Now we're just going to look up the parts and kind of go through and see what this would cost to, for a top end. And then we're going to look at it needs tires. I'm going to recommend greasing everything and servicing the suspension and just kind of get everything all dialed in, like what I did to Daisy. If you haven't seen that video series, I'll put a card right up here for that video series of what we did to Daisy. Took her all the way apart down to the frame and built her back up, and things like brand new, ready to go. So I'm going to kind of recommend the same thing. See if he wants to go for all of it, part of it, or none of it. All right, so last thing for the day. I had another thing I had to do. It was on one of the things we will not mention, but it has too many wheels on it. But it is the last of the things. It's over there in the background there. You can see it. And it's the last one left in the shop. Haha, that's awesome. So I'm sure there'll be more before winter's over. But anyway, but let's talk about this. This is a 2018 350 XCF. It is ridden by one Chrissy Altamere, a mom who likes to race and ride dirt bikes real hard. It's a 2018, has 212 hours on it. 212 hard hours, I would say. She rides the crap out of this thing. I think she races either the men's B class or men's C class, I forget. But she doesn't just race with the girls. She's out there hanging out with everybody, so it's awesome. And she and her husband Paul are going to be on our race team this coming season, which they have been in the past. We're going to be helping them out as much as we can. I don't have a giant pile of money to help these guys out, so I just help with labor and knock some price off the parts and things like that. That would be another cool reason, if you're interested in supporting this channel financially with a Patreon support or something like that, would be cool, because if we get that built up big enough and this channel actually makes some real money, we would have a full-on no messing around race team. And so anyway, something to think about. Not begging for money, just you watching this and spreading the gospel of two wheels is really the reward that I want. But anyway, so yeah, Chrissy is probably going to get a new bike mid-season, maybe towards the end of the season. But we want to make sure this thing gets through this coming season, at least the beginning of it, with like 0 problems. With 212 hours, it's time for piston for sure, cam chain for sure, probably cam chain tensioner, because I don't know if this has the stock one in it or not, but the Dirt Tricks cam chain tensioner is the only way to go for the KTMs, because the stock one, honestly, I love OEM stuff generally, but the stock cam chain tensioner is on these. It's hydraulically operated. If the oil gets a little thin, it collapses. Cam chain makes all kinds of noise. Could theoretically skip time. I personally haven't seen that happen, but the noise is enough to drive you nuts. So I got to get her a quote for a top end. Also, her Recluse is kind of hanging up. It's stalling. The bike is stalling more than it should. And I mean, technically with the Recluse it shouldn't stall at all, but let's be honest, that's not real. Bikes still stall with Recluses, just not as often. But this one's stalling a lot, so probably the plates are worn out. The aluminum plates of the EXP are worn out, so I got to get her a price on that. And just going to kind of go over and take a look at everything it probably needs. It's yeah, I mean, it needs a tire up front for sure. The back one's almost brand new. And I think the suspension's been serviced recently. She's got another sponsor, the 812 suspension, does her suspension work, which is cool. They're a great company, do awesome work, and they help her out, so that's awesome. And yeah, kind of go through the thing, check it out. So I think that'll be about it for the day for me, guys. Been a good Shlog. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, as always. It means a lot that you guys bother to watch these videos. seems like it's been getting good response. Again, let me know what you think about the Shlogs. And honestly, any questions you have mechanically, just put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything I can. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know. If you don't want to post it like publicly because you're embarrassed or whatever by the question, you can just send it to morgan@highland-cycles.com. I'll answer, like I said, anything I can answer. I just want to see you guys out riding. I want to keep people riding instead of having their bikes in a shop all the time with problems, you know, or making the sport so expensive that you can't get out. Like, I get it. It's an expensive sport already. What you don't need is failures in your machine that then make the price go up even more. It's all about maintenance, all about preventative, all about staying ahead of the curve, doing good things. As I mentioned earlier in the Shlog, the biggest thing you can do is change your oil and keep your air filter clean and oiled. Really? Like, if you do that regularly, you probably won't have any problem. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. If you like this stuff, go ahead, subscribe, give us a like, shoot us a comment. Honestly, the comments really do help a lot on YouTube. The more views we get, the better we do, the more subscribers we get, the more money we make, the more of these videos we can do, and the more cool projects we can do. Real quick, another cool project that's coming is I am getting a YZ125. It's going to be for my son Thomas, but it's going to be a complete tear down of the frame, probably repaint the frame and build it back up. It's an 01. The motor's junk. My buddy's giving it to us. The motor is super blown up and bad, so we're going to have to rebuild that 100%. And I'm excited about that because that'll be the third one I've done with Thomas, and he does great with it. So we'll have him in here doing some stuff. We're going to go through everything on that bike to make it just absolutely tip-top for him. It'll be his next bike. He's on a KX100 right now, so it's the next step up. If you know anybody or you are a manufacturer that wants to sponsor that series, let me know. Again, you can shoot me an email at morgan@highland-cycles.com. I'd love to have some help with that for parts, anything anybody's interested in. Like I said, we're going to be tearing it all the way down the frame and going all the way back up. New bearings, suspension, motor, everything to make the thing awesome and ready to ride and show that you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on a brand new bike to have a lot of fun. Anyway, I know I keep saying this, but thank you so much. Have a great day. Get out, spread the gospel of two wheels, and please, no joke, I'm not kidding around, go friggin' ride your dirt bikes!